All right, everybody. Welcome to BO Boys for Thursday, December 19th. Fuck it. It's a raw feed. We're doing it live. I'm Pat.
And I'm Danny, the host of I Screened, You Screen 4, number 4 movies. And it's such an honor to take over a replacement spot for tonight on the raw feed. So, Pat, I'm very blessed to come on the show, just you and I. And everybody, what's going on to all the wanna be boys, wanna be girls, wanna be people?
Danny, I'm blessed, and Clayton is blessed that we have such a deep roster of talent that when one of us has to go on assignment, and Clayton right now, he's in the air. You know, he is flying across country from an undetermined coast back home, and he's in the air, but luckily we got on the ground. We got you, Danny, filling in. Clayton, he gave his blessing the last episode when VP of Interns Christopher took over. No blessing required here. Danny is pre-blessed from way back.
Clayton, all I can say is I'm not here to take over your spot, but you know, duty calls. I'm glad to be in your spot. You know, you always have my blessing. And whatever you go over to some hunting prowess, go hunt Craven for me, because long story short, go hunt Craven.
Craven must be hunted down. So, Danny, before we get into the new releases this weekend, I did want to get your quick thoughts on some of the stuff that's been out recently. So, Wicked and Moana 2, those are the big ones, been ruling the last few weeks. Were either of those on your radar? Have you seen Wicked? Have you seen Moana 2? Have you sung along? Have you worn the witch's hat? Or do either of those matter to you?
Wicked was the one that mattered to me because it looked hype from the way the trailer was shown. And then over the months, I've been excited to see and curious where this goes. And then a lot of footage got me a lot hyped. So, yeah, I saw Wicked. It's a blast. A magical Broadway sensational film to life. And that's defying gravity. I really enjoyed Wicked for this one.
Oh, that's amazing. Time. That is amazing. So before the movie.
Bucket, yes.
Okay, so that is why the podcast doesn't give you the whole story. You got to watch on YouTube because right now Danny is showing off the Elphaba popcorn bucket from Wicked. Did you eat popcorn out of that bucket or did you keep it clean and just bring it home?
I just ate it and then I just cleaned it after when I got home. So
okay.
I had to keep it.
You had to keep it. I'm so glad to hear this, Danny, and that really shows why Wicked is just such a gigantic hit, why it's going to be $1 billion baby, why it's,
it won't be $1 billion. It won't. But part 2, it will.
Part 2 will be, and you're right, because internationally it's not doing as well as it is domestically, but it is a domestic sensation. It's because it was able to get someone like Danny, who you wouldn't think would be in the target audience, and now look at him. He's hype. He's got popcorn buckets. He's singing Defying Gravity as he's walking up and down the streets. I mean, this shows why this movie's so gigantic. What about Moana 2? Do you have a popcorn bucket of Moana 2? Do you have Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson Maui popcorn bucket, or is that not for you?
It's not for me because the fact they converted this from a show to a movie, I mean, I was skeptic at first, but look at how it turned out, though. It may not be my interest, and I know the first one's better, but credit to Disney for having the balls to finally put an IP movie on Thanksgiving after 2 years of giant bombs back to back.
Yeah.
Credit to Disney, though. It's going to get to $1 billion. I'm certain of it. So kudos to Disney. Got to credit that.
I love it. I love it, Danny. You're coming out. You're giving kudos. You're giving credit. And it's true. Disney has not put IP out on Thanksgiving, and this year showed you got to get the IP on the table for Thanksgiving. That is what the families want. They want the IP. So those are some of the big ones. But Craven the Hunter. Did you see Craven the Hunter? Were you ever hyped for Craven the Hunter? Was there a point in your life on one of the 4 or 5 different proposed release dates where you were hyped to see Craven the Hunter?
I was excited for the rated R aspect, and I had a feeling it'd be really good at this point, better than the previous Sony Spider-Man villain movies. And I'm not shocked, considering they delayed it so many times. Yeah, long story. If you go out to my podcast, I Screen, You Screen 4, number 4 movies. I had the Craven episode, and I just ran out whatever I had to, whatever needs to be said.
Yeah. There it is. I mean, and great plug there. You got to listen to that episode of I Scream, You Scream 4, number 4 movies, taken on Craven in a way that no one else on the internet or on any podcast platform has. So you got to get Danny's take on it. So those are what's been out there. Let's now do what we're here for. Look ahead at this weekend, what's open December 20th. Let's start with Mufasa, which, you know, a couple of months ago or at the beginning of the year, everyone would have thought, okay, this weekend, Mufasa is the big one. And now the ticket sales, advanced ticket sales, it's not looking like Mufasa is going to be the king. No, but
ouch.
So why do we think that is? With you know, the Lion King remake that came out in what, 2019?
Yes.
That opened to 190 million. Is it
191? Yes.
191 million.
Very huge.
Huge. And there's obviously this is a prequel. It doesn't have all the songs that everyone loves. It doesn't have. Do you think? I mean, neither of us have seen this movie. You haven't seen it yet, right? You didn't get an advanced critics copy of it.
I mean, I did see the original 2019 remake Lion King. Yeah.
But have you seen? You haven't seen Mufasa yet.
Not
right?
yet. I'm seeing it this Friday.
You are seeing it this Friday. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that Hakuna Matata will end up being in this movie? Will they sing Hakuna Matata?
I feel like it will, but not in like a real musical way. I kind of seen where this is going to be sung. I saw in a commercial. I don't want to spoil it, but let's just say that part maybe cringe a little bit. I can tell.
Okay. Is it going to be a sad, emotional Hakuna Matata? Like it's like over a funeral scene and they're very solemnly singing Hakuna Matata. Yeah.
No worries.
Yeah, it's hard to make that sad.
Yeah, it's really hard. I mean, here's what I'll say. I would say
we tried.
It's and that part I was gonna say it probably be a little color commentate or something. I don't know. I can't tell what this is.
Okay.
I'll be aware of that for sure.
Okay. Because those two characters are in this movie. Pumbaa and is it Timba and Pumbaa?
Yep, Timon and Pumbaa, yeah.
Timon and Pumbaa, because it's Billy Eichner and someone else plays
Seth Rogen. Seth
Rogen. Okay, so they're in it. So this is like a prequel, but they're gonna probably fudge the ages on some of these characters so that they could be alive that early. That'll probably be what happens. This movie, obviously it's going to be huge. I mean, it's a Disney movie. It's Lion King universe.
I wouldn't sleep how it's going to do opening weekend. The legs is where it matters.
Yes.
We've seen that with Avatar 2 years ago, and people were freaking out. And look where it just did that 2 years ago.
Yes. I mean, that's the thing, is we're a week away from Christmas, where it's basically, I mean, honestly, starting this weekend, people start being off on Monday. So it is like 2 straight weeks of every day is pretty much a Saturday for the next 2 weeks. So you're right. It's not the opening weekend. It's the fact that next Tuesday, this movie is going to do huge numbers. Next Thursday, it's going to do huge numbers. Next Wednesday, for sure. Christmas Day. So it's not about the opening weekend, but the opening weekend is not going to be as gigantic, I think, as maybe they would have thought a year ago. Like, it does feel like there is less hype on Mufasa than they would have expected. What do you get out in, you know, you're younger than I am, I'll admit it. Is there any hype for this Mufasa movie amongst people around your age, like in their 20s? Is that sort of the worst age group for wanting to see Mufasa?
No, I mean, I can look at this movie for adults because they lived Lion King back in the day. Mm-hmm. So in this scenario, they'll bring their kids, they'll bring their like relatives, cousins, almost like all ages. It's a movie for everybody. It's Lion King. It's a phenomenon IP of Disney. So, but I will say, yeah, it's not getting interest from my age right now because they're focusing on the other one, which is already building anticipation and stealing the audiences from Mufasa as we speak.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get into it. I mean, maybe we'll touch some more on Mufasa later. Where we do our
Oh no,
predictions. But
I'd rather just get to Mufasa out of the way.
okay,
Sorry.
get Mufasa. This guy. I mean, that shows it. A 20-something-year-old. He just wants to get Mufasa out of the way. He wants to get to the point where I don't have to think about Mufasa anymore. I don't want to think about these lions. Uh, the fact that it's a prequel, does that feel like a big problem? Like Wicked is sort of a prequel to Wizard of Oz, but it's based off of a play that everyone knows, so it's not really thought of as a prequel. But do you think that's a big problem? If this had been a straight up sequel to The Lion King, do you think that would have had more buzz than it being look at the young version of the dad who dies in the first 5 minutes of the original?
I think this would have been more interesting hype than the prequel. And the fact is, if we go back to prequels this year, let's look at Furiosa. I mean,
Yeah.
I love the movie.
Yep.
I was sad and torn. It just didn't do good.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the understandable fact. It's a prequel no one asked for. The Mad Max IP is a very old, muddy IP.
Mm-hmm.
That's not for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But in conservative prequels, I mean, if we look into years ago, we had Solo, a Star Wars story, Han Solo. That didn't do good. Lightyear is not a prequel. It's a movie based on a toy before it became a live action, a live toy being existed at Toy Story. Yeah. You could say it's
impossible to decide what. Yeah, it's impossible to describe what the hell Lightyear was. No one will ever be able to properly say what that movie was.
Just to add, for a fact, it's a prequel for Lion King. I just don't doubt it because it's Lion King. What Jeff Bach said weeks ago, it's a beast IP. Anyone later on can go see Lion King, but there is a fact: the last one didn't get a buzzworth reviews, even though families love it anyways. But people on the internet just weren't interested on this movie because whatever they witnessed the other one years ago, it just disinterests a lot of audiences. I have a friend, for example, who loves Lion King as an animated 1900s movie, and then when the live action came around and he probably saw it, I'm guessing he's not interested in this one because it's not animated. It's generally a question about Disney live action remakes. There's a lot of hit and misses going on. I mean,
look at Dumbo.
We go back? Yeah, if we look at The Little Mermaid, wasn't that like a okay-ish hit? Because international, it did not do great the way we thought of.
Yes, unfortunately, it's that Beauty and the Beast, and then that Aladdin movie. Those seem to be like the highest end, and it's been more of I mean, obviously the 2019 Lion King did huge numbers, but you're right. People didn't love it. People saw it out of maybe a sense of obligation, and it was the big summer movie. It was out like in July, but people didn't love that movie. So that's definitely a problem for Mufasa. Do you think, your friend said that he has a problem with it being live action, but it's not really live action. It's still animated. They're animating these lions, just not in the cute way. They're animating them to look real. Do you think people in their 20s would have more interest in Mufasa if it was straight up filming real lions? No animating these lions, just like throwing live lions out onto a soundstage or a set, filming them. You could dub the voices. You don't have to have Seth Rogen like ride the lion. But if it was no animation and you're getting to look at real lions running around, would you be more interested in that?
I would be intrigued to see where that goes. I mean, I love to see what Disney does, but with real actual lions, oh my God, I can almost doubt it's impossible. But it's some way if they can tame a lion and just get them in live set filmed. I mean, it would be a lot interesting. I would love to see that, and it would lower the budget too. I mean, it costs $200 million.
Yes. These lions, especially now that I think circus is on the wane, there's probably more lions who are looking for work in showbiz than there were before, so you could get them cheaper. And animating a lion has to cost more than just filming a lion running around. And then you just do the voiceover over it.
Right.
Yeah, I think that might be a way to go if they do either a sequel or a prequel to continue the Lion King. It's like, stop animating these things. Just film real lions and then you put the voice over
Or just
it.
fully animated without having live set pieces. Just make it animated fully. Maybe it would have bumped a lot of interest for what I understood from people on the internet.
Yeah. I mean that's the thing too, is now that they've done two of these Lion King fake animated movies, animated to look real, when they finally just do a straight up like cartoon of the Lion King, you could get a ton of hype out of that, because then you could advertise, hey, guess what? We're making it look like a cartoon the way you actually like it. And
That's right.
And people will be excited for that.
And
And then
if it's a prequel the same way as animated like that, yeah, it would have had more interest too.
yeah.
The prequel part is very questionable anyways.
Yeah.
Even if that's the case.
Yeah, because it's always hard to sell to audiences, hey, at the end of this, they're going to end up the way that it started in the movie that you actually like. That's a tougher sell. So yeah, I mean, Mufasa is going to be huge. I think you nailed it, that it's going to just be leggy and make a ton of money, because it's not going to open to $100+ million this weekend. And it might not be number one, because Danny, let's talk about it. Oh,
come on, you guys. Come on, you guys. Come on.
He's got the sweatshirt, Ultimate Sonic. Is that Shadow? Is that
you said his name? Don't say it. It's top secret. I'm about to say it.
Oh my God. So this is, again, you can't get the whole story just listening to the podcast. You got to follow the BO Boys on YouTube, because Danny is showing off just so much Sonic merch. A hoodie. Tell us, Danny, what is the story of that hoodie, Ultimate Sonic? Why is he ultimate in that image? What makes him ultimate there?
So he's the ultimate life form in certain ways of like how he's created by someone who's in this movie. But in that terms, he's got amazing powers he inhabits. And this is from Sonic X Shadow Generations. It's a video game that is basically a remastered Sonic Generations from 2011. So it's basically remastered to future consoles, but they added this expansion of Shadow's Generation, which is a expansion story about Shadow and his past. So he's got like amazing powers in the game, which is why this hoodie explains it all. Ultimate power. He's got the powers. And this character is lovable across all gamers.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially now that in gaming, there's so much debate about different games and gamers get into arguments. And Sonic does seem to be that rare situation where everyone agrees. Everyone likes this guy. No, there's not. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but there's no part of the gaming community where they're like, Sonic's an a-hole, or Sonic is I don't know, against certain communities. Like, everyone likes Sonic, right?
Like, you could almost say everyone. Not everyone, but like everyone loves the franchise, even this character.
Okay.
He's one of the top 50 greatest or best video game characters in the Genesis world, in the world record book, basically. He's that popular.
Okay.
Very popular and well loved.
Okay. I mean, he's Sega's Mario, right? I mean, basically,
not as
Nintendo
Mario, as Mario, but as a doppelganger sidekick to Sonic, you could say, or somewhat, you could say he's right up to Bowser, Freddy. Okay. Well, video game characters are iconic. He's right up there for sure as like a villain.
Yeah.
Or an anti-hero.
So he's huge. This is the third movie in this franchise, and what's great about this franchise is, box office wise, they just keep going up and up. I mean, Sonic, the first movie in 2020, February of 2020, opened to $58 million. That was a movie that did really well, but it kind of got the momentum stopped by COVID, because it was only open a month before COVID. It probably would have made a lot more money than it did, but it did get up to 146 domestic. Sonic 2 opened in April of 2022, opened to $72 million. So it opened 14 million bigger domestically than the first one. Are heading up. They're going up and up. So could you just remind us, though, Danny, where did we leave off with Sonic in the second movie? Where is Sonic at just in his life, in his career, coming off of this second movie? The second movie, he ended like things were okay for him, right?
Yes. Everything's okay with him, and he's now with Tails and Knuckles at the end of the movie as like a giant family with the Wachowskis. So they're all living like a household together, or just the fact is, it's a giant family for that. So they're adopted.
Okay.
You could say.
So this second movie, and Tails and Knuckles, they weren't in the first one, right? It was just Sonic in the first one.
Tails was at the post-credit scene for the first one. Yeah. It got people buzzly excited for what happens next.
Okay, so we got Tails, we got Knuckles, Sonic, James Marsden. They're all hanging out in a house. Things are going good. And now Sonic 3. I mean, could you tell us, could you say his name? I don't
Shadow.
know.
No, you could say it. I just only spoke about Shadow. So Shadow. Go ahead, say it.
Okay, I'm going to say his name. Shadow. Okay, so Shadow is the big new character in Sonic 3. He's voiced by Keanu Reeves. So, yes. I mean, you tell me, just you're the video game guy. You're a chief video game correspondent. How big is this? How big is finally having Shadow in this Sonic series? Is this something people have been waiting for from like the first movie? Where it's like, when are we going to have Shadow on screen? How big is this?
Since the first movie. People been excited to see if Shadow happens. Like, from the start, when the first movie was a hit, fans have resonates and are excited to see where it goes. Shadow was the biggest request people wanted to see. And even in my expectations from the last one, I was popping off crazy when Shadow was at the end of the movie. And, I didn't care. I was so psyched and hype. And, believe it or not, the kids went nuts for Shadow. Okay. You could almost tell it's Spider-Man at the back of their heads when you look at Shadow. Let's say Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield, but let's say Tobey Maguire in the aspect. They'll know Shadow in the back of their heads. Either they play the games or they just love the Sonic franchise. It's that iconic. He's almost iconic to Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, and that is why Shadow is a big deal in the big screen. And the fact is, let me just talk to this director real quick.
Do it.
This director, credits to him, he had the balls to give fans what they want. With him and the writing team, they come back every movie, top it off, gets hype, gets consistently better. And right now in Rotten Tomatoes, what percentage it's scored right now? You'll be damn surprised. 86 right now. As of right now. I'm not kidding. 86. I didn't expect it to be like 80s, but it tells you they're getting consistent and they're bringing fans what they want. And people going into this movie expect what Shadow is. They're getting the stuff out of this. They're loving it.
Wow. I'm going to say his name. I'm looking this up right now. The director of these Sonic movies is Jeff Fowler. I think he's directed all three.
All three. He keeps coming back. Who can do it better? Nobody does it better but Jeff.
Wow. So he's given the fans what they want, and you said he's not scared to do that. Like why would putting Shadow in these movies? Why is that a potentially scary decision? I don't know much about this Shadow. I was a Mario guy. I think Sonic was coming in. I was leaving video games. I'm not well versed in Shadow. What is it about Shadow that might have been hard to put into a movie to sort of visualize Shadow?
You have to get the backstory right, which is in every video game source material. You have to get the material down right as a filmmaker. It's not the hardest thing if you love something. Like right. Jeff Fowler is a Sonic fan all his life. He knows and understands. And by the way, he was actually an animated designer for a video game for Shadow the Hedgehog's own game, 2005. And it tells you he's got the knowledge and experience on Shadow. He understands the material. He understands Shadow in every sense with the franchise of Sonic. And he's done a great job making sure his story's nailed perfectly and the material and the design, which when the first Sonic, And Pat, I don't know why the hell you love this ugly design, ugly Sonic design.
Uh,
I'm caught by surprise archiving your episodes, but I'm just gonna say no
uh-huh.
one loved it because their fans and gamers understand that this is not good. And kudos to Paramount, they listened. They
They
got
listen.
bullied enough to change it. They delayed this movie, and look where it's at right now. And if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have had a franchise.
Yeah.
Imagine it was Michael Bay's fucking Transformers. And guess the fuck what? He was coming in this movie. It's never going to go anywhere. He doesn't know shit.
And I'm sure, Danny, you'd agree. In most cases, bullying, not good. Don't bully, shouldn't bully. But this isn't one of those cases where bullying worked. The fans bullied Paramount about Ugly Sonic, who listen, I loved. I'm always going to have a special spot in my heart for Ugly Sonic. I hope they do someday like a horror movie, low budget horror movie spinoff, like a Shudder movie starring Ugly Sonic.
I can see that. That won't be a bad thing.
Yeah. Give like the Gorehounds, Brett of the New Flesh would probably love to see
horror lifestyle.
Hashtag horror lifestyle. Hashtag Ugly Sonic on Shudder. Just going around super fast, gnarling people with his human teeth. I'd want to see that. But Paramount listened because the fans didn't want to see that in a big mainstream Sonic movie. They wanted cute Sonic, the Sonic that we love. So, yeah, Jeff Fowler, good for him. I didn't realize that he was in the Sonic business from way back, that he was part of it. It reminds me of, have you seen the Godfather trilogy? Because I'm trying to think of another trilogy that is as good as the Sonic the Hedgehog trilogy. And I think the only one really might be the Godfather trilogy. And that's a case where you had this book about Italian Americans written by Mario Puzo. And if they would have picked the wrong director, it would have been a disaster. But they got Francis Ford Coppola. They got an Italian American who knew how to tell that story. And Jeff Fowler is the Francis Ford Coppola of Sonic. He's the guy on the inside who knew how to tell this story.
Or he's the Michael Bay of Transformers like that. But Jeff Fowler is a consistent better director. I promise you all that.
Yes.
He's getting better.
Yeah. I think it's Coppola, Jeff Fowler, Michael Bay in that order. But Jeff Fowler is, I haven't seen part 3. Godfather 1, Godfather 2, 2 of the best movies ever made. Godfather 3 stinks. So if Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is great, then I do think we have a case where Sonic the Hedgehog is a better trilogy than the Godfather trilogy. I mean, would you agree with that?
I agree. They get consistently better as time goes.
Yeah.
And I think everyone will agree with that on the internet.
Yes, 100%. Everyone on the internet will agree the Sonic the Hedgehog trilogy is better than the Godfather trilogy. I think that is definitely the case. So Keanu Reeves as a Shadow guy. You haven't seen this movie yet, but
I'm seeing it tomorrow.
You're seeing it tomorrow.
We're doing an episode tonight. Fuck it, we're doing live.
Fuck it, raw feed. When that casting was announced, what was the reaction? Does he feel like the right guy to be Shadow?
Of course. Everyone was saying the same thing. My friend, who's a Sonic fan, said the same thing. He could also fit the job. My brother even said the same thing. Everyone's expecting Keanu Reeves, especially he was referenced him in the first movie as an actor. And the fan casting happened. Shadow happened. It could be him. It could have been Hayden Christensen, who was rumored, or the other person could have been awesome. Robert Pattinson. If you watch The Batman, he's got the voice. Also good, but Keanu Reeves also fits the job. Because you look at him, this is the kids' version of John Wick. So if kids can't see John Wick or The Matrix, he's all that. So kids can come out and see Keanu Reeves' name on the movie. Well, it's not been credited all over the board, but they'll find out on the internet either way.
Right.
But with Keanu Reeves being there, and once they find out, they'll want to see a kid's version of John Wick in that sense. Because Shadow and him have a lot in common. They both went through the same tragedy.
Okay, so I'm loving this. And now I cannot wait to see this Sonic the Hedgehog movie because I didn't realize just how layered it was. So Shadow is like John Wick. He's got the tragedy. He's got the tragic backstory. Is he looking for revenge? Is that what Shadow?
Yeah, he's looking for revenge, and he has a sort of thing called amnesia. So he doesn't remember what happened, and he's trying to either find. So from based on the game, just to give you
Yeah.
guys into premise from the trailer,
Yeah.
there was a girl named Maria who means a
Okay.
lot to Shadow. It's like his
Mm-hmm.
friend, best friend. She from the games. This is exactly how it goes.
Yeah.
It's not spoiler. She's killed, and it tragically hurt Shadow a lot. He's
Wow.
going through that emotion so hard. It's gonna show that in the flashback, I'm certain. Because
Right.
why not? They can't. They have to show it off in some way to storytell this movie,
Yeah.
and that's how it goes down. Shadow is like either developing amnesia or is just looking for revenge. I mean, I don't know what's going on to that part from the trailers, but either way, that's exactly how it's gonna break it down pretty good.
Wow. And again, forgive my ignorance. Shadow is also a hedgehog, right?
Yeah, he is.
Shadow is a hedgehog, and he's going through all of this. He lost Maria. He doesn't even know how he lost Maria, but he knows that he did. And um, is this possibly? I mean, you said 86 on Rotten Tomato. You've got this character of Shadow who seems to have this tragic backstory. Is this potentially an Oscar movie, do you think? I mean, could we see this in Best Animated? If Shadow is everything you say he is, this character that could define cinema for 2024, could we be looking at Sonic the Hedgehog Best Animated Feature? Nom nom nom. Maybe not to win, but
I can't see that honestly.
okay.
I feel like this movie is made well for the fans and they would love to see it. But even if I was Jeff Fowler in his shoe, I wouldn't want to make this for the Oscars. Because I feel the Oscar thing is so selfish sometimes. If I was Jeff Fowler, I just do it for the fans and I just do it to give people the idea of what this character is brought to life is. That's the
Right.
meaningful of like doing for the source material,
Right.
even if it doesn't get the Oscar noms or not.
Right. Right. I love that. I love that. I am so excited to see this. Yeah, and Keanu Reeves, he's going to be great in the part, but I mean, just as important, this guy is a giant movie star who
But
is
in the voice of in the what Clayton said though. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh,
I will
go for it.
agree. The voice does the behind the stars don't matter. I do agree with Clayton. He proved
Okay.
me that like a year ago. So Keanu Reeves' name has not been credited in the marketing, but I'm sure everyone knows he voices the movie. But in these posters, they're not been in the name of Keanu Reeves. So I
Well,
will say though, it's interesting that if this was the marketing way of Keanu Reeves, I mean, this could have been insanely to general audiences that love Keanu Reeves in all
mhm.
public spaces.
I guess they're looking for the word of mouth on that for the second weekend where people come out and they're telling their friends, hey, I didn't know this, but Keanu Reeves is the voice. And then that starts to spread, and then that helps at the second weekend. But I mean, there is a big star who is above the title,
I
who
know who
is
you
all
are.
over
I
the
know what you think
poster.
you're saying. Go ahead, say it.
I mean,
You're a fan.
I am a fan. All righty then. Jim Carrey, Ace Ventura
Yes. Woo!
himself.
Woo!
He's here. The Pet
He's back.
Detective. This is the big comeback for Jim Carrey. These Sonic movies. I saw the first one in the theater with several friends, including Clayton, including past and future guest host Aaron Rose Foley Chan, who's
Aaron
been on
Foley
the
Chan, I was
show.
gonna say.
We all saw this first one together, and we are all, people of a certain age where Jim Carrey was our guy. We were there. I mean, you were too young. You were not there, Danny, back
Yeah,
in.
I wish, but I did see the movie, yeah, but I wish I would be with you guys. Yeah. I
You
can always
weren't
be with you guys.
well. I'm saying there back in 1994
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
when Jim Carrey had one of the greatest movie star years of all time. Again, any
Great
chance I
career.
get, I have to say this. 1994, Ace Ventura: Pet Detective in February. Then we move to the summer, The Mask. And then it's December, Dumb and Dumber opens. That is one calendar year. That is not a 5-year period. That is a 1 year that Jim Carrey had. And Sonic 1, when we went to see that in the theater, it was Jim Carrey returning to being 1994 Jim Carrey. He's that guy in these Sonic movies.
Yes.
And for someone your age, someone in their 20s, you're young, prime of your life, you and your friends, when you see Jim Carrey in these movies, is he still have that power to you where it's like, man, this guy, he is funny. He is a hilarious movie star.
To everyone and myself, Jim Carrey means a lot playing this character. And credits, once again, to Jeff Fowler and the writing team.
Mm-hmm.
They had the balls to get this guy back who's
Yes.
retired. That's the craziest thing. They had to make a great script. And to add to details, he's not playing one. He's playing two characters. Two.
Yes.
Himself as Robotnik and his grandfather, Gerald. That's where the hype's at. They did this for him, and it's so good. They got him back, and he's the future of this franchise for sure. I mean, yeah, for the kids, they'll love Jim Carrey as they understand him. For the adults, yeah, I think he's still got the star power, and I bet your ass that they're lonely people, that older people that want to go to the movies, they'll not pick Lion King. They want to go see a 90-star Jim Carrey doing his comedic shit. Yeah, that's the guy.
I mean, there you go. You nailed it. There's older, lonely people who want to see Jim Carrey on the big screen. And it's true. Jim Carrey and the Lion King basically burst on the scene around the same time. Because I think Lion King was 93, 94. So it's like,
true, yeah.
it's right around that time. And I agree. Today, if you're a person of a certain age who's of that generation, I think you'd rather go see the new Jim Carrey comedy rather than go see this rehashed Lion King.
And if they don't have kids, maybe if they have kids like Sonic, take them out to see it.
Well, I mean, here's the thing about the audiences for these two movies. They are both going after a younger audience, and they're also specifically, I mean, not to genderize because everyone sees everything, but to some degree, they're both a little bit more male focused. You know, Mufasa isn't a princess Disney movie.
I think it's attracting females though, for sure. But Sonic is heavily males all around, even the teenagers, believe it or not.
I believe it. I mean, Sonic's a rude dude with an attitude, and you got this Shadow who's you know, a young male is going to be, even if they know he's a bad guy, they're going to be intrigued by Shadow. So I think that is a thing that could hurt Mufasa in the opening weekend, is that the young fellas are going to be more interested in Sonic than they are in Mufasa. Yeah. If you're a guy, and again, you know, everyone goes sees everything, but I do think that Sonic is more appealing to a young guy, the Stoolies, the Minifans, than
the Swifties, maybe. Actually, I know I don't know why I said the Swifties. Maybe they love Lion King more than Sonic. A bunch of girls don't want to see a bunch of Sonic, a bunch of hedgehogs running around. They rather see like a love story, a beautiful animals. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, so I think you do got more Swifties probably for Mufasa, more Minifans, and
unless Taylor Swift was voicing in the movie, the Swifties. If she had to voice a character, I could see the Swifties coming out.
Well, she's not in either of these, and you know what?
Yeah, no.
Maybe she's holding out for Sonic 4. Is there, okay, not to jump past Sonic 3, because we got to stay on Sonic 3, but for Sonic 4, is there a character that could be introduced that hasn't been introduced yet that Taylor Swift could voice in a future Sonic movie? Is there a big Taylor Swift role that's out there?
Amy Rose would be the fit. I could see that somehow. And she's done voice acting before. I did watch a few films of hers. She would fit, and I think it's a good opportunity if she can get back to like a little acting and get herself to making the big bucks and get all of her Swifties to follow her and see Sonic. That's how you know they'll love it to see and support. I could see that.
Amy Rose. Okay, is Amy Rose a hedgehog or is that a person?
It's not a person. It's not a hedgehog. It's a different kind of species. I don't know what species it is. I totally don't have it in the back of my head, but it's not
like
a
some kind of humanoid type situation.
Humanoid creature, you could say, yeah.
Okay, so that could be a possible Taylor Swift part. I mean, Taylor Swift. I bet you this weekend, if Jason Kelce, or which one is she dating? Travis Kelce. We don't care about Jason Kelce, but Travis Kelce was going to a movie this weekend. I bet you Travis Kelce is going to see Sonic. He's not going to see Mufasa.
I bet he will. I mean, hey, he's got to go fast, right? He will. He's basically Knuckles as a tight end. You can just go pick Sonic.
Exactly. I love that. I definitely think that if you happen to be in a theater this weekend, and I never encourage, paparazzi type stuff, but if you do see Travis Kelce at a Sonic screening this weekend, let us know. Don't take a picture. Let him enjoy the movie. Let him enjoy his popcorn. But
That's
definitely
right.
let the BO Boys know if you see Travis
If you're in
Kelce.
Kansas City, that is, to all the wannabe boys, wannabe girls, wannabe people.
People in KC, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One more thing. In the
of
NFL, I don't
course.
know if you've been following the Detroit Lions. They got two running backs that are named after the characters in the franchise. You got Jahmyr Gibbs as Sonic. You got David Montgomery as Knuckles. Great marketing from people's perspective. I don't think it was Paramount, but people have been referring to him as Sonic and Knuckles. Great marketing aspect. Even the kids that are going watching the Lion stuff, guess what? They'll probably want to come on and see this movie for
Yes.
that. Lion King doesn't
Yes.
have something like that. So guess what? Sonic and Knuckles, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. Who could have
Yes.
possibly, and I was on board with this. It makes a lot of sense.
And
I
how
love
much
it.
you love it that it's your home team.
It's my home team, even though I have another favorite team, but it's a great feel to being part of this, and they're playing for my city. It's the greatest
Yes.
feeling when you're representing a mascot character of these franchise.
Yes. Yes. I'm a New York Giants fan, and we haven't had a
Yeah,
IP tie-in since James
Danny
and the
Pennies.
Giant Peach. Yeah.
Sorry about Danny Panties though. At least he's benched
Yeah.
and cut now.
Well, you know what? We're looking to finish dead last to get a high draft pick.
You'll get a draft, yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
You guys will get
But-
Shador Sanders, I'm sure.
So now, of course, for all the Stoolies listening, that was your sports minute. That is how we do sports here on the BO
I'm a
Boys.
sports guy, guys.
We're also sports guys. So Sonic has just got all the momentum this weekend. What about Knuckles? Is it? Do you feel like Knuckles is going to have a chance to shine in Sonic 3?
I'm sure he will, yeah. And the TV show Knuckles on Paramount Plus, it was well streamed. Kids, I'm sure, love Knuckles. They really want to see more Knuckles. They could come out and see Sonic 3 and expect more Knuckles.
Yes.
Even though the Shadow's the most part, but Knuckles is what people love to see as well. And he's been grown. He's a grown, lovable character.
Do you think the audience has been building because of you got the spin-off series on Paramount? These first two movies have been on Paramount for the last couple of years, so you get a lot of new audience who are seeing the movies on streaming. So do you think that has helped build more audience since these movies have been out in theaters?
It's really helped quality-wise. It's pretty good. I mean, the Knuckles show, it wasn't the greatest. It had flaws, but I think people enjoyed it for like the sake of like where the story is going is what people didn't love. But
Okay.
the VFX and Knuckles stuff, I mean, they were well made.
Okay.
But yeah, it's building pretty great with every audiences. That's how like Paramount really cares with the fans, and we need another IP of Paramount. No more
Yes.
Transformers. This is the new Transformers. Sonic is the next Transformers. And with
Yeah.
Jeff Fowler in that seat, this franchise is in good hands from this guy.
I mean, is that possibly something that Paramount should think about is, you don't want to spread him too thin because we need Jeff Fowler to keep making Sonic
He'll
movies.
come back. There's no doubt. Who can do better? As Jim Harbaugh said, who doesn't got better than that? Nobody but him. I'll say it again. Nobody doesn't get better than him. Than him. Nobody but Jeff Fowler.
Nobody but Jeff Fowler. Should Paramount consider having Jeff Fowler take a stab at rebooting something like Transformers or G.I. Joe because he's got this magic touch? Or do you think he's got to just stay on Sonic?
He's got to stay on Sonic. I can't see him do other stuff. I like to see what he does outside Sonic. I mean, he's going to probably finish the direct. He's probably going to cap off the series. Strong noted for the fans. And what was I going to say? Oh, I just lost it. Never mind.
We'll I'm sure it'll come up. We'll get back to it. But yeah, this is Paramount's baby. Sonic has been, even something like Mission Impossible last year with Dead Reckoning Part 1.
That was put in a bad spot. Unfortunately.
It was put in a bad spot. It only got the 1 week of IMAX. And I think the next one, Final Reckoning, is going to be huge.
Even if Leo Stage comes out, it's got the IMAX. It's all that matters. That's what Tom Cruise wants. It's got 3 weeks. 3 weeks of IMAX, and that's good enough.
It'll be huge, but that's Paramount, the one they always count on, and it faltered a little bit with the last one. But Sonic, this is the golden child right now. So I brought up, uh, um, you know, it's a third movie in the franchise, and I was looking at another franchise, big animated hit franchise, the Shrek movies, and you look at those Shrek
I love the
movies.
franchise. I can't wait till the sixth. I can't wait till the fifth one.
That's right. Shrek 5 opens 2 years. It opens
Yep.
2026.
I'm excited.
And the first one opened to 42 million. That's $2001.
2001. And it increased big. I just checked before I got on air with you, but yeah, it increased pretty well. The cultural phenomenon with this IP with DreamWorks was a giant step.
Yep. Shrek 2 did 108 million, so more than double. But then Shrek 3 is still the biggest opening weekend, did 121 million.
But it did less overall than like the previous Shrek.
It did less. Shrek 2 is the high water mark total domestic, but Shrek 3 is the biggest opening weekend. I mean, do we think it's pretty safe to say Sonic 3 will be the biggest both opening weekend and total for any of the Sonic movies so far?
It will. It's got to have huge walk-ups for last minute. No one wants to get tracked. Could be anybody. So guess what? I'm so tired of these projections calling it 60 to 50 or 50s to 60s to 70s to 80s. I think it's going to go above that. All those. And I can't wait to get into predictions in a bit. But yeah, I think it's going to be the biggest out of the trilogy.
Yeah. And it's the other two Sonic movies both open. First one in February, second one April. So not great times of year to go bonkers. Like the best time of year is obviously summer, June, July.
They should try summer release, yeah, for sure.
But I mean, kind of the best time to open a movie.
Oh yeah,
is what they're opening right now. Is that right before Christmas? So this is the best part of the schedule that a Sonic movie has ever opened. So this should be by far the biggest Sonic movie. This is just gonna go nuts. I mean, is there anything else that you want to touch on the Sonic movie before we just get into these number predictions? Because I am chomping at the bit to hear your number. Is there anything
ready.
else?
I spoke everything. I'm ready to get chopping on these numbers. Let's go.
Let's go. I cannot wait to hear. I mean, you're the guy. Unless you disagree, I'd love for you to go first.
I'll go first.
Give us your top 5 predictions. What is going to be number one? Go for it.
So real quick, I just want to cap it off before the Twitter X and I know tweets ain't takes, but a bunch of Sonic fans were so ripping on Mufasa. They wanted this movie to fail, and guess what? You guys got your damn wish, because I'm not those people who want that to be crazy. And look, you do understand at the end of the day, to all the Sonic fans out there, Mufasa's going to make more, even if Internationals carry on its back. And it's going to have legs anyways. So anyways, you guys can celebrate all you want, but at the end of the day, Mufasa's going to make more in my total knowledge of this franchise. But Sonic is going to be for sure big, so you guys can celebrate on that. You guys can celebrate the number one weekend. But guess what? I thought Mufasa would be number one. I think Sonic, it's clear from pre-sales, Sonic takes number one.
Yes.
It's huge in my local. Check your local pre-sales, but it's filling up Sonic everywhere. Even if it's not, walk-ups will happen, but I think it's clear Sonic takes number one. And it's going to make more. Like I said, I'm going to go 90. 90. Yes. It would make 100 if Mufasa wasn't there. It's impossible, but if it gets to 100 somehow, God, we're all going to be spelling rings all over the field.
If it gets to 100, we're popping champagne bottles.
Yes,
from New York City to Michigan, 100%.
Sure. 90. Yeah. So 90, number one. I mean, Sonic 3, 90 million, number one. Number two, Mufasa. It's a clear slam doink on that. I'm gonna say Lightyear, 50 million.
Wow.
But it's not bad. It's got to have the legs. I promise.
Have the legs.
Even the reviews on that is mixed. I'm not surprised. Even though we haven't touched Barry Jenkins, but I'm not shocked considering the same screenwriter. It's no surprise, but he did his best. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Mufasa. I'm sure it's gonna be fine with all the general audiences. They'll love it anyways. So I'm certain the word of mouth will be fine.
Yep.
Um. Okay. Number 2 is Mufasa with 50 million. Number 3. Do you want to get nuts, Pat?
Let's get nuts.
And it's been going on this past weeks, but I think Wicked takes number 3 in the gravity-defying expectations. I think it takes number 3. Number 4, Moana, and number 5, Gladiator 2.
I love it.
Craven and the Craven shit and the Lord of the Rings shit drop out top 5, and it's gonna be long forgotten. And for those who are gonna go see Craven, for some damn reason, I'm sorry, I'm gonna cut the shit. You should be ashamed of yourself if any of you have to go see Craven. It's
okay.
not good on the first weekend.
I totally agree, and you know, this could be the point. I don't know if you've ever seen. I wasn't a fan of it, but I know of the scene in Game of Thrones with the shame when they have someone walk around and someone's yelling shame, shame for like 2 hours straight, just shame, shame,
shame, shame.
Shame, shame, shame. I think that's how they said it in the episode. Shame, shame, shame. If you go see Craven the Hunter this weekend, someone should be allowed to walk and follow you around with a popcorn bucket, just saying shame, shame, shame. Yeah. And we want people to go to movies. We want everyone to go see movies, support theaters. But second weekend of Craven the Hunter, when Sonic the Hedgehog and Mufasa have just opened, and you're going to see Craven the Hunter, you shouldn't be touched. You shouldn't be hurt. But someone should at least be able to pass by and just whisper, shame.
You'll face
shame.
This guy I'm wearing right here. He's going to hunt you down for revenge.
He's showing off Ultimate Sonic, the hoodie. So what do you think the Craven the Hunter second weekend drop is going to be? I'm so curious because you're right. It's not going to finish top 5, but it opened to $11 million in 3,000 theaters. I assume it's going to lose some theaters, but it probably does have a lot of its theaters for like 2-week guarantees.
Yeah.
Is this a Morbius drop? Is this going to drop over 70%?
It's clear answer. It's clear answer that drops 70%.
Wow.
That should be no question. And I feel bad for Lord of the Rings. Warner Bros. Did a shitty job promoting it. I'm not going to shame anyone who wants to see Lord of the Rings. It's fine. I heard okay things on it. So I'm not those people wanting to animate Lord of the Rings. So that's why I failed. Also that. No one asked for that. But just to recap top 5, just to cap it off before I shut my mouth. Sonic, 90 million. Mufasa 2, 50 million. 3 Wicked, 4 Moana, 5 Gladiator. That's it.
Here's the thing, Danny. You nailed it. Top 5. I was, of course, going to go Wicked would jump ahead of Moana this weekend. I think I called it a little early last weekend, but even as I was saying it, I knew it was 1 week too early.
For sure.
This will be the weekend where Wicked, because the drops for Wicked have been much smaller,
and they're beating it day by days.
Yep, the day by days for Wicked have been great. This is the weekend, so my top 5 is the same as yours. It's going to be Sonic, then Mufasa, then Wicked, then Moana 2, and then Gladiator 2. So numbers wise,
yeah, go ahead.
You said 90 million for Sonic. I think I'm going to go just a little lower on both movies, like 88 million for Sonic. And I think maybe like 47 million for Mufasa, because it's like the weekend before Christmas. There's still some people who got to get gifts. They got errands to do, and it might be a little lower. But then, I mean, also 88 million for Sonic is gigantic because it's bigger than the second one.
Yes.
But the day-by-days for both of these movies, especially Sonic, are going to be out of control for the next 2-3 weeks. Because there's a bunch of movies opening next week on Christmas Day, but there is nothing that is a competitor to Sonic or Mufasa that's opening next week. It's like the Brutalist.
They're all two adult movies, and I'm excited for one of them, by the way. I'm excited for A Complete Unknown with Chalamet. I'm very excited for that one.
I love that while you're here, I mean, I know you're a big movie buff anyway, so you would have been excited for it. But have you noticed any of the Chalamet press tour the last few weeks? Did you see him on College Game Day? You know,
I see that one.
okay,
He was calling game shots on college. It was amazing. I love it what he does just to get himself out there. And yeah, there was a press premiere going on hours ago, and
okay.
Tom Cruise was there. He was taking pictures with him and like Elle Fanning and Monica Barbario. They had to come out because they're like their co-stars before.
Wow.
Yeah.
Danny, you're breaking news to me. I did not know that Tom Cruise was at the premiere with Chalamet. That is such gigantic news. That is basically Tom Cruise is he's anointing this kid. He's you know putting a little dab on his head and saying, "This is the guy. You're the guy. You're blessed as the guy." Wow. Breaking news here on this episode of the BO Boys. Tom Cruise blessing Chalamet as the movie star. So yeah, that's huge. That Chalamet's press tour is breaking through to the young men. You know, his college sports predictions. The young guys are loving that. So when we talk about that next week, you got to factor that in. That
Oh
Chalamet,
yeah.
it's working. It's working. So yeah, that's my predictions. I think let's say 88 million for
Hey,
Sonic.
can I throw a prediction for second weekend?
Oh, of
Let's get
course.
nuts though. I want to get
Let's go
nuts.
nuts.
So I meant to bring this up. Sonic is basically becoming the MCU. They're becoming heavy spoilers, which is why I'm saying the opening weekend is going to be a pack house for fans,
Mm-hmm.
diehards, to get out of the spoiler zone, just to get
Mm-hmm.
into this and just not worry about spoilers anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So for the second weekend, if the legs pick up, I think Mufasa becomes number one.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
I think it's going to hold
interesting.
really fine. I'm certain.
Interesting.
For you
Wow.
guys, never mind.
It's going to be fascinating. Like that's the thing about covering box office over Christmas is you almost have to do a show every day. You know, this is again when I wish that that the BO Boys had our drive time daily radio show. We would do it on Christmas Day. We never stop because these next 2 weeks, the day by days are going to be such huge news every day. Sonic versus
Yes.
Mufasa. What happens when Bob Dylan gets in the mix next week? A complete unknown.
And Nosferatu.
And Nosferatu. Okay, while you're here, Nosferatu. Are you hyped for Nosferatu? Does
No, but I think it's a good idea by Aaron Taylor Johnson not being marketed because I can see why. I can see
wow,
that, and yeah, you know what? I like the guy. I'll say this: he didn't do good in Craven. He was not perfect. He didn't sound Craven
wow.
enough. So it's best if he can just be hidden and hidden, not marketed, and then names out there. And I think it'll be fine. I don't think no one who knows Taylor Johnson the way I think about it. Maybe from the
Yeah,
market perspective.
it,
No.
it's a tough spot to be a movie star or trying to be a movie star, and the best use of you is to hide you in the marketing of the movie, which is probably true, but that's a tough spot for him to be in. To say, hey, pay me a lot of money, but then you're not going to want to let anyone know I'm in your movie. That's pretty tough. So Danny, thank you for the not just this weekend, but you're covering, giving us advanced predictions on the Christmas movies. Very exciting. So tell the wannabe boys, wannabe girls, wannabe
People.
people, what else can they expect from your great show, I Screen, You Scream 4, number 4
Number 4.
movies?
So, I got reviews to cover this weekend. I got Sonic, Mufasa to cover. I got the final movie next week, A Complete Unknown. That will be coming next week. I will be doing my top 10 movies of the year, and
Yes.
then I'm blessed to continue season 4 of I Screen, Do Scream 4, number 4 movies. And
Yes.
I love doing what I do as a hobby, and it's so fun. So, and I have been growing well on YouTube a lot thanks to you guys. So, my
I
YouTube
love
views
it.
have been getting huge in there, and I know the YouTube thing can be a grind so much, but I'm enjoying the YouTube aspect because the podcast thing is the podcast analytics. It's a long story, but I think the YouTube is where it's at. So, most of all, you got to go to the YouTube channel and find I Screen, You Scream 4, number 4 movies, and you'll find all the infinite content that you can get. You'll get to see my face, anyone's face, and of course, I can throw one of these, I can throw one
There
of
he is.
those,
Look at all the
and
merch.
I can throw
Yeah.
this, yeah, and
Yeah.
also I can throw one of these. I mean, yeah,
You get a popcorn
and I
bucket.
can throw one of these. Yes.
And there's Wario. I mean, obviously, you'll be on way before then, but obviously,
And if you're
whenever
listening
the
to the
Super Mario.
podcast, by the way, get your ass off the podcast and go to the YouTube channel, the BO Boys. Done deal.
Okay. I agree. YouTube is where it's at for all of our shows. You're only getting half the story in the podcast. Danny, I think it's only going to be much like the Sonic franchise, up, up, and up for your show. Couple of years from now, next presidential cycle, I think it's going to be I Scream, You Scream 4, number 4 movies is going to be a must stop for any presidential candidate. They're going to have to sit down with you, Danny, before the 2028 election. That's how big I think your show is going to be. It's going to be you're going to have to sit down with Danny, talk Mario 2, Mario 3, whichever one is coming out then, before the voters can go into the ballot box. That's my prediction. That's my prediction. So thank you. Of course, email us, theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. Send us your boots on the ground reporting. If you see Travis Kelce going to see Sonic this weekend, let us know. theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on social media at the BO Boys Pod. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. Still on Twitter X, though who knows how long that's going to be the case. 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. And yeah, I mean, I think
we're on YouTube. Hey guys.
So I think that is it. Danny, I mean, there can't be anything left to say, of course, right? It's time to go.
There's nothing left to say. You said enough. Until next time,
we'll smell you at the box office. Nailed it.